Hey guys, so my name is Kelsey Lorendo and this is my organizational report. Okay, so I did my report on this business called Jimio's Pizzeria. It is in Oregon City, Oregon, and it is a family-owned pizzeria. They started off as being Papa Andrea's, technically, and then some workers who worked at Papa Andrea's, which used to be a smaller pizza chain, bought that specific store and then they turned it into Jimio's Pizzeria. One of the guys' names was Jim Olson, so you get Jimio, or you get Jimmy, and then O for Olson, so Jimio's Pizzeria. And so they took that company over and then they have now made it into what it is today as Jimio's Pizzeria. And they made the switch in 1981. So the company has been going on for a little bit now as being a family-owned business. All right, so for goals. So because it is a pizzeria, yes, it is a restaurant, so that means that customer service is definitely high up with the goals that this company has. And so this means making the customers happy, keeping the kitchen clean, and also the restaurant clean. There is, like, the company does their own bussing of the tables, and so customers are not picking up their own dirty dishes and moving them, and so this does require people to get up and the workers to bus the tables and make sure that the restaurant does actually look clean and nice for customers, because if customers do not have a good time at the restaurant, they will not be returning. So this is definitely high in the business side for this company, and also something that the company is working on is making their pizzas consistent. They basically want to make sure that you get the same kind of pizza whether you come in on a Tuesday or a Saturday. Like, you are getting the same kind of product, same kind of just same kind of food, whatever it may be that you order, and just the same kind of experience. So a lot of this has been, they've been very precise on the people that they are putting in what positions. They are not like selective, but it definitely can take people a while to be able to get into a position to where you are working with the front, or you are like dealing with customers face to face, because they want to make sure that you are someone who they can trust and let their company's name be on. And so to also be able to measure the quality and to be able to measure the just product, they have started to implement weights and weighing into making the pizzas, and so they're a lot more consistent. Instead of before, for about 4 years, they have basically just been eyeballing a lot of stuff, which has made a lot of people just a lot of just not cohesiveness with the kind of products that are actually being made and being sent out, which makes it very confusing to the customers because you do not know which pizza you will get depending on who's working and what day. All right. So for work specialization and for departmentalization, so basically there are 4 levels of people who work there. So first, at the height of starting from the top to, I don't want to say the bottom, but yeah, kind of working from the top down, you have the owners, and it's a husband and wife team. So since it is a family business, they did have all of their kids working in the business. They unfortunately went off to do other fields, but they do definitely bring this sense of family. And so it is a husband and wife team that are running this business together. And then you have a manager underneath them, and there's one manager. There used to be 2, but now there's just one, and basically she is more dealing with the day-to-day basis. She is in restaurant a little bit more than the owners, but basically her job is to handle food orders and to handle just to be able to talk to the rest of the employees and give them more direction of what needs to be done kind of on the daily business side. And she basically does more of the behind the scenes, like money, and we do have an arcade in there, so she works with the games and does a lot of that. And I also forgot to mention that our owners, their jobs, they do a lot behind the scenes. They do a ton of food ordering. They obviously handle all the money and finances while they like finalize it, and they're in charge of menus, in charge of figuring out prices, all the fun stuff that comes along with the business. Basically anything with the Jimio's logo on, they are managing themselves, especially because it's a family-owned business. They do a lot themselves, but they are also very active being in the restaurant and being there in person with you, and so they also are covering a lot of these jobs as well throughout the business. And so owners, the manager, and then under the manager you have PICs, which are people in charge. And so basically these are people that there's always at least one working per shift. Typically there's one for an opening shift and then one for kind of like the midday or closing shift. And there's always one on hand, and these are the people that can get into the office, they're kind of more point people for just the general kind of kitchen workers, and they basically work in between the managers and the people below them to bring a little bit more cohesiveness together and to just the general culture of the workplace and of the work environment. And then under the PICs you have general kitchen workers and like bussers and dish cleaners, and then these people are all on the same level. And then you have drivers and cashier workers, and then you also have oven tenders. So oven tenders are in charge of cooking all the food, and they basically are the last people to see the food before it goes out to the customers, so they have a very important job. And then you have drivers and cashier people who are either doing deliveries or they're taking people's orders up front, and so they're in charge of more of the customer service side of the business. And then you have the kitchen workers and dish cleaners, which are kind of mixed in all together. And kitchen workers are basically people who are like making the food, which everyone typically is doing this, but they're people who are making the food and getting a quality product out. And then they are also people who are cleaning the dishes and making sure that the restaurant looks nice and clean for customers. All right, so for control and decision making, so line of control is, it's definitely there. I just went through the different 4 levels that we have, but if everyone's doing their job effectively, it is not really actually something that is utilized a ton, and it is kind of something that you really don't notice like when you're actually going through the motions. It's rare that someone will actually come up to you and approach you and say that something needs to be a certain way or like to fix something. And so basically if you are doing your job and you're working, you are kind of almost in control of yourself. Well, like obviously, but like you're almost like kind of your own boss in the moment. And we do have the PICs and the managers to make sure that everyone is on task and is working and things get done properly, and they kind of do the final sign off for like the night or in the morning to be able to get things done. But in all, if people are doing their jobs right, there's not a huge line of control that comes along with this job. And you obviously have the owners and managers that when they're working, if something needs to be done, they will ask someone and will delegate those things to that person. But like I said, if the dish people and bussers are keeping up with all of that, and then the kitchen workers are making all the orders, oven tenders are doing the food right, and people are taking customers' orders and delivering pizzas right, like it's typically on a normal night, you do not experience this a lot, but it definitely is there. And there is that natural kind of line that it just kind of flows through. And with decision making, it is definitely something that is collaborative, especially with it being a family-owned pizzeria. The fact that it is a smaller company is definitely an advantage. Sometimes it can be a disadvantage, but it definitely is an advantage in this area because it means that changes can be made and they can be made very easily without having to go through corporate and going through more levels of hierarchy that aren't just within the specific building that we're working in. And so it is a lot easier to be able to get changes. For example, like people who are dish workers have brought up a new just method and system of like getting stuff done and maybe like cleaning stuff, and our owners have definitely seen that and they've implemented it, and now it's a new way that we do things. Or like people have suggested new plating ways, like new ways to like present things on trays and stuff to make it look a little nicer and work more efficiently. So it definitely is very collaborative, and you definitely do feel like you have a say when you are there. All right, so formalization. So like I said before, I said there's advantages and some disadvantages with it being a family-owned business. So this means that a lot of things are verbalized because they don't have a handbook that they typically hand out, and so it is just kind of more up in the air sometimes. And so this is a lot to memorize as a trainer, but then also as a trainee, and so it can be kind of difficult to really get things more concrete, and so it creates a lot of I can't think of the word that I'm trying to think of, but it just causes a lot of clashing because people are not always on the same page with things. So this could definitely be improved, but when things are set in stone, things run very efficiently and are very good, and there's no questions. But since it is family owned, they have that freedom of what they want to do and not than some corporate businesses would. So culture. So there's decor around the whole restaurant. We play some sports games, and we have about like 8 TVs throughout the restaurant, and so it's definitely a very relaxed, chill vibe. And so we have some fun posters up on the wall, and then also it's really cool because in the kitchen we have on our walk-in door we post pictures and like invitations to different employees things, and it feels like a family. Like people are like, when people come there, they typically stay for a few years to get them through the next phase of life, and it's definitely been a really big comfort for a lot of people, and you grow very intense and great relationships with people. And so this is something that is definitely built off of, and especially with the owners being a husband and wife, that automatically kind of sets you up for more of a family feel that you would typically probably get in some other kind of organizations. And so this is definitely something that company builds off, and I think will continue to build off of. And but again, not a lot of the culture that is expected of people is more written. It's kind of just more lived out with how people are. Obviously, the longer you stay there, the more you're going to pick up on the culture, and the more that you're going to realize kind of the best way to go about things and the best way that you are going to be able to be effective within this company. And so with that being said, there's not a list of rules or a list of expectations of how you should be written down anywhere. It's just lived out, and our owners and managers definitely look for that in people when they're considering who to hire. And so that's kind of already an advantage, that generally people come in kind of being around the same just level of expectation of what they're going to put out and what they expect. And that's definitely something in the interview process that they bring up as well. But once you're actually in the company, it is not really something that's discussed unless you explicitly are like breaking a cultural kind of norm or a cultural expectation. But with that being said, a lot does go unspoken, or even if it is spoken, it's not very official. So it can be difficult, but it in the long run is a really good company. It's been running for forever. It's definitely a like huge family unit to kind of join in and be a part of, and I am proud of the customer service and of just the experience that people get when they walk in there, and I know our owners are too. And so that is everything I have. Thank you.